So is this idea of the whole foods plant-based diet when it comes to the development of cancer cells, is that something that people should think of as a preventative measure? Or if you are, maybe you're not in good health, maybe you've just gotten a diagnosis of cancer, is that something that can actually reverse that diagnosis?
Well, it depends on what kind of cancer you have. And it also depends, there's another issue. We could talk about this stuff till tomorrow morning. Do you really have cancer? Because the ridiculous cancer screening programs that are designed to bring in customers to medical centers are diagnosing cancer that isn't cancer. In other words, ductal carcinoma in situ is not cancer. It's a risk factor for breast cancer. This would be the time that a responsible doctor, if you were going to do disease mongering and use mammography, for example, which is not a very good tool for diagnosing cancer, but if you were going to make some use out of it, you would say, look, you have this DCIS, and if you don't change your behavior, you're going to have full-blown breast cancer. So let's talk about stop the dairy products, eat a low-fat diet, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing you have to distinguish, when people come to us, we have to figure out, do you really have cancer? Or risk factors for cancer. A lot of people being treated for cancer because they have risk factors, which is great for the industry, not so great for the patient. For a patient who has cancer, diet change is a very powerful tool, but it may not be the only thing that's required. And people sometimes are shocked to hear that I sometimes tell people you do need a little chemotherapy. It's not chemotherapy that's the problem. It's the stupid use of it that's the problem. As a sole agent, overused, overdosed, etc. So you want to take advantage, if you're a cancer patient, of all of the tools at your disposal, one of which is diet. And when you think about it, an average adult puts a ton of food through their body every year. How could you say that doesn't have an effect, right? So of course it's a powerful tool, and we recommend that people make use of it. But the other thing is make sure that you make use of all the other things that you might be able to do as well. And sometimes that can involve some conventional therapy.
You're blowing my mind here, because this idea that there are people who are told by their doctors after testing that they have cancer, and you say, well, no, actually that's a risk factor for cancer, but not actually cancer. How do these patients tell? I mean, we're not trained as doctors. We don't know what tests are run. If we look at test results, I mean, yeah, you can spend some time studying, and I have done this myself for health problems that I've experienced. You can spend time educating yourself, but how do you know whether you are simply at high risk or whether you are someone that even you would consider to have cancer?
Well, I think the first thing that I would say for people watching this who aren't members of Wellness Forum is that unless it's an emergency, when you are told something by a medical doctor or any kind of health professional, you say, thanks for letting me know. I'm going to be looking into this. If you have some stuff you want me to read, great, I'll take it with me, but I'll get back to you and let you know. So again, when we're confronted with issues in our daily life, I mean, even buying a new roof or a new HVAC system, you know, I'm not a mechanical person, but my God, I know enough to get a couple people to come out here and give me estimates, and to look online to see who's complaining about or raving about a particular unit or whatever, right? Or ask friends, do you know a good roofer? I mean, we do this with everything else. So that's the first thing, is don't do anything until you have a chance to calm down, think about it, and start investigating. But I think the most important thing that we teach our members, many of them come to us because they have cancer, they have heart disease, they have whatever, and they know they're not getting better, and they're confused by all the crap they see on the internet. So they come to us to figure out how to deal with the matter at hand. Once we get that out of the way, then I teach them we all teach them. I've got a large company with a big staff. We teach them how to read the medical literature themselves. And they use our libraries. They're very dependent on our libraries, and we have 3,600 hours of video and 1,700 referenced long articles on kidney stones and cancer and everything. So they rely on our libraries, but over time they become really good at this themselves. So a doctor says, well, you know, you should take this drug. You've been diagnosed with X and you should take Y drug. Great. Thanks so much for the information. If you got anything that I should read, let me know. I'll take it with me. I'm going to be looking into this on my own, and I'll let you know what I'm going to do. So whether it's cancer, whatever it is, they go back and they say, I'm not doing this, I will do that, I fixed this myself. So the consumer has to take responsibility. I'm all about consumer empowerment and consumer responsibility. And so one of the things that drives me crazy about our end of this is everybody thinks, well, the government has to change. Somebody has to go fix this for me. You have to start by fixing it for yourself. Then you start by helping other people around you know that this can all be fixed on our own. and we grow a movement where we can, there's so many of us, we can have our own doctors. And first, I took the first step to do that this year. We opened our first clinic. In 10 years, before I leave this planet, and I'm not planning to go in 10 years, much to the chagrin of my detractors, but by the time I leave this planet, I'll have built 1,000 clinics, and we'll have our own cost-sharing plan based on these principles where people take care of themselves based on evidence, and they need less medical care, and they're very thoughtful and deliberate about the medical care they receive. And you slash the bill by about 65–70%, people can go back to paying for healthcare directly in many instances. It's not expensive. I'm 68 years old. I weigh what I weighed when I graduated from high school. I take no drugs. I don't take any drugs. There's nothing wrong with me. Right? I can still.
Yeah, I once heard a doctor. I once heard a medical doctor say that the average American takes one pharmaceutical drug for every decade of life. So by the time you're 70, 80 years old, the average American is taking 7 or 8 different prescription medications, which is bananas to me.